It is the present where your highest and fullest expression becomes available. It is the present where you are renewed. It is the present where you are healed. And remembering that your will, your body, your mind is meant to will the energy of creation, of infinite creation.
Why does it seem that some people right now on Earth are awakening so rapidly?
It's true that there is a quickening that is occurring now, yes? It is also true that there have been many opportunities and invitations along the way to awaken. We are activating not only our hearts, but we are connecting to the greater field. So we are opening potentials when we are coming from that place, again, because it is our most inherent self, or the seed of the soul.
Is AI a part of the Ascension plan for humanity?
If you choose to use it for your ascension, it shall be. It is all a matter of perception and a matter of how you are engaging with what is before you.
Bree Melanson, welcome on Just Happen. What are you most excited about right now globally and in your life?
Well, it's kind of same. I think I'm excited about the unknown. We've all collectively, like the last few years, just gone through such a life quake. And there's still, it's still moving and shaking. I personally went through a good 2 years of this very strange period of my life where I'm calling it my dead inside era. Was not a cute era. And it was interesting because it was like with my work, one of the things that I'm most passionate about is how to overcome our limitation. And I'm fascinated by it in the mind and our connection, obviously, to the spiritual world and who we really are. But in this case, there was nothing to dissect or fix or find. It really is still a little bit of a mystery, but what it supported me in doing was to really let things, I guess, old aspects of myself die. And the silver lining was that I think I was to let go of the way that I was approaching literally everything. And it was strange because I'm like, I got it. God's like, do you though? And I was reading this morning through a channeled piece that I had channeled during that time, because it's interesting, when we connect, our guides, our angels, higher consciousness are always so loving and I want to say quite zoomed out, and they were explaining what I was going through and what we were all going through, which is the same thing. It's this great restructuring. And whatever it is, it felt like I was body slammed. It was just I didn't have motivation. I just didn't have my regular essence. And it can come through a lot of ways. It can come through in you're actually going through hardships and having to, work through those. But we're all moving through still a transitional period. And as uncomfortable as it can be, it is really exciting. It's exciting to be here at this time. I trip out on that all the time. Whoa, we really came for the shakedown. And, the first time I channeled the Palladians, they were talking about that. Specifically, they were like, oh, you came for this great awakening. And I was like, yeah. How dramatic, but now whoa, you guys, we're not playing. This is really real. And we're at, I think we've talked about it in a spiritual sense for so long, this shift, this great shift, the awakening. And now we're really feeling in a tangible way, wow, we are living in a different reality, and it's, it's continuing to unfold and things are being revealed. And again, it's uncomfortable. But ultimately I really do believe that it is here for us. I mean, we hear it all the time. Um, and it's interesting because it's it's like there's this wave of energy that is here to support us in our freest, fullest expression. But we've been so conditioned to try to plug into whatever you call it, a matrix, or even just, linear input output, or trying to plug yourself into society in a certain way. Um, and it's uncomfortable because those have held us up for so long. It's like how maybe it's how we've created success, or how we've, you know, received acclaim in the world, and how we've supported ourselves. Um, and we're really having to like kick those like training wheels off, or in a sense. And uh, so it's just funny because it's like we want infinite abundance, we want all these experiences, and we really can't take our old ways with us. And I just think it pertains to everybody, no matter how spiritual you are, no matter how much work you've done. We're all going through a type of transit. So um, I think that part is exciting in the unknown, because it's, again, like, it really feels unknown. It feels like maybe several years ago we used to be able to plan for our future. We were like, okay, 5-year plan, or you have these ideas about your future, and now it really feels like I don't know. Like, you just like can't really
I have
see.
a 1 month plan now. That's it. Like, I don't know
Exactly.
after June what will be happening, but
You can't, it's almost not allowed, right? It's just like that we're not doing that anymore. Um, so anyway, it's really supporting us, I think, in being able to receive and be in the flow of, it sounds cheesy, but like, our highest unfolding, or the way in which the intelligence of creation can support us, which is far better than what we have, our ego's ideas, our individual plans and strategies. So
hmm,
huge growth spurt.
yeah.
Mhm.
And you're speaking about this dead inside era almost in like a past tense. So I'm wondering, when you were feeling that dead inside and you went through this initiation,
Oh,
what came alive on the other side of that? And really, like, for the collective, what is the potential within us to come alive
yeah.
once we go through this period of maybe feeling that way, like in a depression or a dead inside era? What came alive on the other side?
Well, I'm still crawling my way out. So I'm not reporting totally from this, I think, but also I want to correct myself and offer that it's really not about like going back. It is kind of this rebirth. So I want to say that I'm exploring and stepping into, uh, I, sometimes yeah, like, it sounds cheesy to say my fullest potential, or my freest expression, or um, my like unhindered self. Uh, let's see. Hold on. So I'm gonna ask. I'm gonna just. I'm gonna tap in.
Tap in. Love the plug.
One sec. It's a good question. Well, I think the biggest piece is surrender. It just was, we were talking about, around being, allowing myself to really honor inspiration. I think that also kind of feels like a deal breaker now. Like, I can't, it's almost like I can't do things unless they are inspired. Like, if it's not really coming from a pure place within me, it, like, everything inside me is just like, this isn't gonna, like, I don't want to do this, right? Um, and that can be hard to trust, because again, we have learned to be more linear and have strategy to move forward. But inspiration essentially is the intelligence of creation, like, asking to work through us. And it works beyond linear constructs. So it is like that magic, or whatever you want to say, you can skip timelines, or whatever the verbiage is. It's unlimited. And so, yeah, I think I've kind of landed in more of that free space. And I think our freest expression will always be our most abundant and our fullest and our most fulfilled. Um, but we obviously get to those places, those like growth spurts, in different ways. It can be through being inspired by others. It can be through, um, learning the hard way. This was, again, a very strange era that, I guess was required, because it was like, yeah, I couldn't, my old tricks didn't work, because I was like, I know how to get out of everything.
Hmm.
The universe was like, except for this. Correct. Yeah.
Hmm.
So I'm exploring. But it feels good. Yeah, it feels like I have a profound, deeper trust, because I really had to let go. I think when we work for ourselves, you feel you never really you could always be working, or you feel like you maybe should be working. And I really had to stop, and everything was fine, because I built my business to support me in a certain way. Um, and yeah, I've continued to have experiences like that where, like, say I have like a drop in finances, and the old me, or our inclination, is to go like, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to fix this? I know some ways that I can generate. And I just had this inner knowing of like, do not move. You need to trust, because, um, the essence of abundance is like, is deeper trust or knowing, right? It's being able to kind of like navigate no matter what, and be able to create that anew. But I would get like large sums of money that were like totally out of like left field, that I didn't know were coming for those months. And I think it's because I chilled and I didn't react, right? I was showing up differently, because ultimately it's all here for us to expand through, for sure. I think the purpose of all things is to evolve. And so literally everything in our life is an invitation to expand and become more free.
Hmm. What do you feel people must come to terms with, or even just accept in themselves, in order to access these gifts that you were able to come online with, some years ago when they came in for you? What do people have to accept in themselves in order to allow this deeper state of consciousness, awareness, intuition to come through?
I mean, ultimately, it's a quieting of the mind. Um, our identity and our ego is essentially the vehicle for us to express through. We're just not supposed to let it drive and like lead with it. So it that applies to every aspect of our life. If there's an imbalance or like a block, it just essentially means that we're leaning too much from maybe the thinking mind or the egoic mind or the identity. Um, and so every meditation essentially is to get you out of that headspace and into your greater full knowing, or what I would call the soul, right? Our whole self. So the more even that you can do to, like, just considering what puts me in alignment with my most intrinsic self, or what are the things that make me feel at ease, and really making those more of a priority, those things are going to drop you into yourself and create space for your soul, which is connected to all wisdom. And it's like, I like to refer to it as like our tether to source. Um, and so the more that we do to kind of connect with that inherent part of ourselves, the more wisdom can come through, the more guidance we get, and also the greater creative power we have. If source is the energy that creates all things, and our soul is our tether to that, I mean, wouldn't it make sense to want to nurture it? And I think that, we've maybe had this idea that the soul is this ethereal, separate, not sure if it's there type of entity. But it can be helpful to just kind of like reframe and redefine what that is. And when do you feel the presence of your soul? And what are the things that your soul might enjoy doing? What does the soul allow for? Um, and getting in communication, like getting communication even just with life, and noticing how life is really always in communication with us. Um, I think the other thing that can be really pivotal and profound in moving yourself forward and accessing your intuition is also trying on the perspective of the soul. So, if my soul is the aspect of me that is harmonious, that is at one with all things, that is, creative and seeks to expand and evolve, how would my soul see this? Or um, why might my soul be experiencing this? Or what is this other person's soul? What are they really showing me? Um, what is the opportunity here to, evolve into a higher consciousness, which really is just kind of a more true consciousness, because it's aligned with our true self and the energy of creation versus the identity stories. And that's another way to kind of ask that question too, is like, what's true beyond my identity? And its investments within this thing. And that's another way to just get to neutrality. And you don't even have to get spiritual. You just have to say, what's true when I take my identity out of the equation? And so all of those things will open us incredibly. I think, our purest heart space, like our purest desires, are the things that we are inherently drawn to, are kind of coded with the intelligence of creation. So for me, I've always been interested in this world. When I was a little girl, I, would talk about it, and it was always something like secret kind of that I had, or I'd read books. Nobody else was, reading strange Sylvia Browne books or whatever. And I guess I kept, keeping the curiosity alive. And, I went through my own like coming out of, spiritual closet, I guess, which you don't even really like. So much more is acceptable now, right? Like it's really wonderful that the conversation is flowing. So I think that part is a lot easier as far as like sharing. Did that answer your question? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
for
I went a
sure.
lot of places.
Yeah, I love that you brought in the perspective of the soul because, I've heard before that the heart is the seat of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're not perceiving like the soul is something outside of us. And like sometimes we can connect with it and other times we're severed from it. When we talk about the heart space and when you started perceiving the world through your heart, because that is something that I feel very much within you, what shifts in our reality and what were the lessons of the heart that you were taught in those beginning stages and even now?
Yeah, I think also just when we are discussing the heart, I think it's perfect in saying it's the seat of the soul, or it's our channel for creation, or it's our connection to our divine self, because we also have this idea of the human heart, right? That it's like, I love this person, or I don't love this person, or my heart is broken. And that's more so our sentient experience or sentient feedback connected to the relationship or the perceptions we are holding about said person or circumstance, right? So we're sentient beings and we're meant to like navigate our way through this life and like, through our feeling. And I also think intelligence is felt and then translated essentially through the mind. So when I think of like living from the heart space or what's possible through the heart, I think the more we come to know our like in our inherent desires. So meaning like, what would we do? What are the things that we want to do without needing to receive? What are the things that we are drawn to? I think that's the first step in living more from the heart space, is honoring those things and making time for them in a very like human way. Like I started taking pottery because I I knew that it would put me in the present moment. And it's like something that really gets me like connected to source. Um, and I know that when we are doing those things that come from the purity of our heart, we are activating not only our hearts, but we are connecting to the greater field. So we are opening potentials when we are coming from that place, again, because it is our most inherent self or the seed of the soul. It's so important to embody, like, so I think of kind of like manifestation, and most everything comes down to like energetics, perception, and embodiment. So when we were talking about like, how, what are things when I feel alive in my heart, and then what are the perceptions that my soul would see, or what would my purest heart, how would my heart see this, or what would my heart have me do? And then the embodiment piece is really important. Like, and so now I'm going to, right? Because otherwise it's just in the ethers. I think it's really important to have all of those pieces. I mean, that's essentially the three pieces to manifestation. They're all kind of need to be in play. Um, and the challenging thing is that sometimes, it's not going to make sense. So I'll give an example, because you'll be inspired to do something, and then the mind will come in and say, well, what's that going to do? Well, where's that going to get us? Or that's going to, so I started taking horseback riding lessons again, and it's like an hour away, and there's no reason. I don't like that. I'm not in a place in my life where I'm going to have a horse. I'm not wanting to like compete or anything like that. I just love horses. I know that I feel like so in my heart and connected to all things when I'm around a horse. And I also said, like, I want to be able to like rip no matter where I am in the world. So I started taking classes. I was on a ride one day, and I was thinking about these retreats that I used to do in Canada at a horse ranch. And they were so fun, and I loved them, but they were a lot of work. And so I was like, I don't know. I don't think I want to do those again. But I got home, and then I had this woman, she was a student and taken some of my online programs, reach out, and she has a company called Globetrotting, and she coordinates retreats all over the world, literally at the most beautiful places. And she's like, Bree, do you want to do a collaboration? You can just come and do a little breath work. You can go, you name wherever you want to go. We'll fly you out. And so now I'm doing these. I just got back from Italy. She's like, where do you want to go next? I was like, Argentina. So it's
just pointing on the map.
And then we're going to go to the south of France. But that is what is possible, because I could have never thought that up. But I had this innate draw, and I literally said, the feeling was, I want to be able to get on a horse no matter where I am in the world. And the universe is like, cool. You want to do the retreats, but you don't want to do all the work? All right, no problem. So by activating and saying yes to those things, we activate potentials in the field. And in this case, she picked it up, and this manifested. So I'm never not completely surprised by what the universe is able to create. And it's just so profound. And again, like, yeah, the linear mind is going to question it and be like, what are we doing? What's the plan?
It's almost like a immense letting go of the details. Like, I have no idea how this is going to happen, but if I generate the emotion and I have a clear intention, the universe will organize, because it's the most intelligent, sentience out there, and it'll organize things in ways that we could have never expected. And in that recipe that you laid out of energetics, perception, and embodiment, I feel like almost the last one of embodiment could be the most important one, because, how have you managed, or what are some of those keys that you've learned about mastering this metaphysical, mystical world, spiritual world, but also not bypassing the human and bypassing the body and bypassing, the physicality of what we have to deal with on a daily basis? How have you, or what keys have you found in that aspect?
Yeah, so I'm a feeler. I definitely feel all the things. I think the trick is to not get stuck in the stories. Again, anytime we're suffering, We are so the identity identifies. So it's identifying with a condition or some external something, someone, and looking outside of itself. And that's why it feels so bad, because we are disconnecting from truth. It's again, it's like feedback. It's our body's way. It's the universe's way of saying, like, wrong way, babe. Look, you're looking in the wrong direction. So I'm constantly refining that piece in remembering that, okay, this feels bad, not because of the condition. This feels bad because of my perceptions. And then what is it actually here for? Again, that like, and this brings in that energetic perception and embodiment. So I'm feeling the sense of, this tells me where I am in relation to truth or source or my soul. And then what is the perception that I'm holding and or getting on board for the higher purpose of what it's actually doing there? Because once we get on board for that higher purpose, it hasn't no reason to keep showing up anymore. And that's what our patterns are. So it's not obviously a matter of getting rid of our patterns. It's a matter of showing up differently when they do come, because they will perpetually show up to ask you to embody differently, to show up differently. And that is, that third step can be the hardest, because it might be a hard conversation. You're going to have to move through some discomfort. And it may be a jump, it may be like, I'm going to do it. Yeah. Like it may feel really great. But I'm not obsessed. I highly enjoy the process of moving through things and being aware and being like, oh my God, this is actually this, and this is an opportunity. And then it opening, this greater reality. And, I guess, I was dating this guy, and he was, on the spectrum, and he was, very intelligent, great. I really liked, his open heart space. I think a lot of times there's like, they can't be conditioned, in the way that like most people can. And so sometimes his delivery would be really hard, or, he wouldn't take into account he was very kind, but he wouldn't take into account like my experience or the other person's experience that you would normally. You'd like dance around something maybe, right? But he wouldn't do that. And so I constantly had to be like, whoa, like, ooh. And then I would say like, okay, wait a minute. What is this? And it would always be my conditioning. And so there was a part of me that would want to like pick up my purse and be like, I'm out of here. But then I would sit and I would say, I'd have to process it in the moment. And I would be aware of, my conditioning that was coming up. And then I would respond differently. And it would just open this like greater connection. It was wild. It was like, it was like another timeline or potential. And there was this version of me that just walked away because I was offended. But when I dug deeper and didn't take it personally, because nothing is personal, it totally shifted, and it would open a new space of connection and potential between us. But I'm constantly trying to put that into play and show up. Yeah, that, again, the gauging, the feeling, the new perception, the higher purpose of it. How is this here for me? And then showing up differently.
One of the most wholesome shows that I've seen on Netflix has been Love on the Spectrum.
Yeah.
And actually, I got so obsessed with it that I started listening to some of the interviews that the cast members from Love on the Spectrum were doing, on YouTube and on other podcasts. And one time they interviewed one of them. His name is Connor. And they asked him, I love him too. And they asked him, I'm going to try to get Connor on the podcast. I'm planting the seed out there.
I love it.
But they asked him, what does autism represent to you? And he said, like, very directly, he looked at the woman, the host, and he said, it represents the evolution of humanity. And I was like, whoa. And so going along the lines of that story that you told about the guy that you dated, how do you feel that represents the evolution of how we'll be communicating in the future?
Well, I'm going to ask about it. One second. I'm like, I don't know if my ideas are important. One sec. So part of, I think part of the opportunity is getting into our sentient self, because we've become quite habituated in just reacting from a mental space and like kind of creating and assuming these structures, which again, they're not willing to really live within, which is can be liberating, if we take that into account for ourselves and kind of look at like, yeah, why have I made this wrong or this type of behavior inappropriate? I mean, I love that show too. And I actually manifested this guy because I was like, it was from I don't know, one of the first seasons. And I was like, oh my God, I love this honesty. And I was like, I wish it was that simple where you're like, do you like elephants? I like elephants. Do you like this thing? You're like, let's go. Let's be in love. Or just, I don't want to be here anymore. And there's all of it. I was like, this is so refreshing. So I think that's definitely a potential gift. And I know there's like the telepathy tapes, which I haven't gotten into, which I want to listen. Let me ask again how this changes. I mean, part of it is looking at the way in which we are engaging with our environment and each other, obviously. How else will it change the way we are showing up in the future? I just keep seeing heart space. If there were a silver lining, I think that's the biggest piece, is their gift in helping us to drop into our heart space. And that might be to slow, to listen, to be compassionate. I have a friend that has a son who's quite severely autistic, and it's really shifted her, and really, really dropped her into her heart space and to a greater state of compassion. How do you see it? What do you think?
Well, I feel like the directness that you talked about is a big part of the evolution of how we'll communicate, because the heart isn't really interested in going around and, trying to, obviously saying things with kindness, but also just being very direct from, I feel like when they say things like that, like very honestly and transparently, it's because they're so in tune with the heart's desire and what the heart really knows that they just verbalize it, and period. That's it. Cancel, clear. We're good. Like
I love it.
that's where we're going.
I mean, we ain't got time for anything else, let's be honest, And I also, I just love it. I mean, I love tough love. Because of that reason, I'm like, yeah, tell me what I'm doing wrong, like, or whatever it is, like, let's cut to the chase. It's so refreshing. So yeah, what a gift that is. Inspiration.
Yeah. I was telling you before we started recording that I found you through this series of channeling on Gaia TV. And it was so refreshing because it was like a wave of heart energy. And not just in the channeling, but also like now talking to you as Bree, right? And I'm curious to get a little bit more in tune with the journey of that opening of channel that you went through, and what was that journey like for you? Hello, beautiful family. Quick one today. I just wanted to take a moment to thank each and every one of you that have subscribed to this channel. Your subscription means more than you know. Even though it's free, what you're doing is you're empowering a whole channel to be able to do this every single day and continue showing up in the way that we can with all of our resources on hand. Thank you for contributing to the growth of this channel, for sharing it with the people that you love, for creating a conscious movement of individuals that are seeking the sovereignty and the divinity of their soul. This is why we're here. And if you haven't already and you're enjoying this content, I invite you now to look below on that little button that says subscribe and welcome you properly to this community. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being who you are and being pure love and radiating that with everyone that you see. Back to the episode.
So I was doing readings. Well, first of all, I just never knew that I would be doing this because it also, like, I took my first healing class, I think, in like maybe before 2010, maybe it's like 2009 or something. Um, so it was out there, but it wasn't out there like it is now. So I just never knew it would be possible to do anything like this. So it just wasn't in my sphere. I studied business. I was a dancer. I worked for a nonprofit. And all of those things were important and helpful. And I'm actually really glad. I understand. Been told by my guides, and it feels very true that like it was important for me to be really human for a while and not just kick right into my spiritual side, because I think that is one of my gifts in just who I am, like to be very human and real and to
It's
not.
the relatability, you know?
Right. Yeah. Like, okay, so how do we apply it? Like, I'm always just like, all right, what do we do to get to that place versus, oh, there's this, ethereal concept. And I'm fascinated by that too. But, um, anyway, I think it was an important part of my path. And I just share that because, um, everything is always there for us. And I also want to offer that I got here today by like slowly saying yes to my intrinsic curiosities. So I didn't, and that's another thing that I'm really thankful for. I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a big spiritual channel or teacher or whatever it is. It was just, it started by just being like, oh, there's an invitation to go to this class. I'm going to say yes to that. That sounds freaking really exciting. So I was a little bit of a late bloomer in a sense. And um, sitting in that first class, I remember feeling so lit up and aligned to be in a room of people that I knew held the same beliefs, in a sense of like, we're connected to it all. We can receive, we are able to heal our bodies in miraculous ways. And I remember like writing down names of people that I was going to help. And I just was like so excited. So I slowly started doing readings and built my practice. And I was, again, a dancer. I was working for a nonprofit organization. Um, and it was, yeah. And then I guess it slowly became business. Um, I started teaching quite like early on, uh, because I just figured if I can do this, everybody can do this. And I want, like, what is the best way to support people is to empower them and to give them the tools, instead of just having people call me and me tell them the things, because it's always within us. Anyway, uh, I was in a reading with the woman who ended up teaching me how to channel, and she started channeling, and I was like, what's going on? I was like, I I trust her. I love her. She's amazing. And then I just had never seen anything like it. So it was like, what? And she was channeling Kuan Yin, and Kuan Yin looked at me and was like, you can do this. Why aren't you doing this? And part of me in my head, I was like, what? Do an accent and act funny? And I was like, what is going on? I can do what? So I eventually like took her class, and she taught me how to channel, and I was again like super lit up by it and just fascinated that it was just this next level of, like, it felt like opening a tap, right? Like, I've been doing readings, and so it's more like a conversation. Like, if I was like, hold on, let me ask, and then you're relaying the message, where channeling is like, yeah, just opening the tap and letting everything kind of come through. So I started channel writing, and that's still easier for me right now because I'll just have pages and pages come through. Um, but in that class, I also learned how to like voice or trance channel. Um, and then because it was not as known, and because I maybe had a perception or fear that people would think it was weird, I would do it in safe spaces. Like, I would do it like on the last day of retreat. Like, I was like, only if you like behind some paywall or like, I, it wasn't intentional, but I realized that I was staying in like more of a safe zone. And then I started to just see that how much it helped people, and even just the energetic uh, transmission that happens, and also knowing that it was a fear and we are supposed to jump through those. Those are the portals that we love talking about. Like, I think those are the biggest portals we can jump through. Uh, so yeah, then when Gaia reached out, I was really excited. And then I was like, okay, oh shoot, you have to do this now in front of people. Television. So yeah, it was another initiation for sure.
Do you feel like that was the yes that stretched you the most, or were there others?
Yeah, that was a big one. Um, yeah, super thankful for it for sure. I think the biggest yes was making, well, yeah, it was a long time ago, so it feels a little bit disconnected, but maybe yeah, but making that pivot, I think of, okay, I'm going to really do this. I'm going to put all my energy into this business, what creative expression and an offering. That was, I think, a big jump. Um, that was scary. I quit a job that was like, I felt it was in a nonprofit, and she was kind of grooming me to be the national director, and um, it was comfortable, it was flexible, it was like my parents were like, "What are you doing?" um, but yeah, then when I made the decision, I felt really uh, light and excited, and that's always a good sign.
Hmm. Beautiful. I would love to give you the space for another yes in terms of bringing through whoever wants to come through today for a few questions and really dive deep into that space of your own channel. And, maybe you can tell us a little bit about how you get into that space, if you've tapped into who would like to come through today, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, so I don't have like a main boo or like a angel that I'm like, ah, this is my thing. Uh, yeah, I've just always kind of dipped around, but that said, I think that, when we do connect, or when I do connect with like a group of Pleiadians, Arcturians, it's a certain group, like you would have like an angelic group that you work with, or your spirit guides or whatever. And so I've, channeled all sorts, like Buddha and Mary Magdalene and Jesus. And I don't trance channel people that have passed, but even to like Tupac, like he's he's one of my favorite people because of, yeah, just it's
He's
wild.
dropped some raps on you,
Well,
some
I mean, he's
verses.
been a little sassy, but he's like, one time he was like, "You don't think that I've been a shaman? Like that I had other lives doing like," and I was like, "Oh, true, duh. Like, you had a powerful presence and a voice and stuff." Um, and then, yeah, I've been connecting more so with the Arcturians lately. I've just found that it's been coming through more easily, so I'm leaning into that. Uh, so I was connecting with them yesterday. I mean, thank goodness people asked me to do this, because otherwise I'm not very disciplined in it, and I'm just out here being human. Uh, so I'm really, yeah, thankful for this. And so I'm going to connect with a group of Arcturians that I usually connect with, and I just need a moment. So I guess to explain, I get in a meditative state. Um, I kind of get out of the way, and I generally will feel like a soft shift. And then there's a certain resonance that I reach that feels like, okay, let's go. Like, and sometimes I'll hear, "We are ready to begin." But my mind often will be like, "Are we?" So for me, it's like I have to feel a certain like, okay, I'm in that space. Generally, like you'll also see a shift. I guess I'll also offer, and you've probably talked about this a lot since you interview channels, but there are different, ways and kind of levels. So um, you can kind of get out of the way enough to like let your ear be like that tap and you can speak. Um, but I tend to do like more of the full kind of like
Take the
resonance.
wheel. Jesus, take the wheel.
Yeah, let me get out of the way. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to just take a moment. I'm going to take one little sip of water. And we would like to offer or mention that although it may seem like it, we are not taking over her body. Yes. So she's creating a space, a certain allowance for herself to feel the resonance of our presence. Yes. So there is a certain relinquishment that she has, we will say, agreed to. We see it more as a collaborative effort in which she is allowing for her body and her being to feel the fullest essence possible of our presence. Yes. And so we are enjoying the fact that there are more of you coming into your ability to receive, to connect, and to remember not only the greater essence that you are, because it is possible for you to be here in this physical body and also live from the light of creation that beams, that permeates, that electrifies, that it animates your being in the world around you. They are not separate, and you're learning this, yes. And in a sense, this ability to channel is helping you to remember the fullness of your expression and your connection to all that is. Yes. We are also elated and delighted to meet with you in this way. We want to answer your questions. Forgive us for our opening, but we also just want to take note of your technological ability. You are calling it technological. This advantageous ability to be able to meet in different places, in different physical places on the earth for this, what is really a meeting of consciousness. Yes. So isn't it one and the same? Yes. This ability to connect, can communicate with what you deem as others, or to collaborate on a conscious heart space level, to co-create. In a sense, there is a great parallel that is occurring within your technological advancements and what is possible within what you deem your physical expression. Yes. So she has referred to what she calls inner tech. Yes. This also is coming online, is, we will say, just as there is a speeding up of your experience of what you call technology, there's also a great opening and opportunity for you to become more online with, again, this electrical current of higher information, of creative energy, of your infinite potential within the physical body that has always been here. This time that you are moving through now is a great opportunity to harness this light frequency that lives within you all. Yes. It also is connected to a web of energy. Yes. She was speaking earlier about the space within your heart. Yes. The magnitude of what can unfold when you come from this space and you allow for yourself to collaborate with the infinite creative field. Yes. And so this is the most important thing that is occurring during this time of great transition. You are being asked, you are being given the opportunity to truly live from your infinite being here in what you call the physical. Yes, we are happy to take your questions.
Thank you so much for being here. I would like to start off with asking you, why is it so difficult for some of us to receive?
For the most part, there is an understanding that you live in a linear and therefore limited construct. Yes. So if you believe for resources to be linear and limited, if you believe that things come through someone or something and not the all, because what is really occurring is that life is flowing through you and through us and through all things. Yes. So this energy of what you might call source is manifesting itself through all things and in the in-between. And so it is not that abundance or things or love comes from others. It is that what you experience as physical expressions are being used by source consciousness. And that source consciousness is an infinite energy. Yes. And so when you identify yourself as living in a linear and limited world, when you identify yourself as your physical incarnation or your personality, you immediately partake in a structure that again is linear and limited in nature. But when you recognize the source essence that is moving through all things, you have discussed here today some ways to rise into higher consciousness and higher states of being from your heart. Because in essence, when you really zoom out, there is no giving and receiving. There is being. There is a beautiful collaboration of what you might call spirit. So when you look at the sunset, when you see a beautiful landscape, yes, this is more of the essence of being. We don't even want to say receiving. Yes, you are feeling the fullness, and you are in a collaborative co-creative experience with the fullness of being. We would like to note, we are using this example of nature because it is the easiest way to recognize the magnificence of the inherent and unending bounty of abundance that is always becoming. Yes. And so whatever you can do really to recognize the presence of that essence as you move through your life, the harmony that is unfolding naturally, this also can help you to be in a more of a state of receiving. And we will offer you this. When you are really giving from your heart space, it does not feel as if you are giving. Yes? It feels as though you are being, you are expressing and sharing love. Yes? One moment. She's asking a follow-up question. Please. We are just offering that we would like for you to attempt to reframe or redefine the idea of receiving as a creative collaboration. Yes. So how am I in a creative, life-giving collaboration in this moment? We will offer you this. When your needs, when your desires are rooted in the identity, there will be difficulty in what you are calling receiving. Yes? So it is best to root your desires in what you could call the soul. What you can offer or ask yourself is, if I have this desire, how will this put me in a greater space of service? How will this open me to be a greater vessel for love, source, my soul, unity? How will this help me to embody a higher consciousness? Yes. What will I know if I have this thing? What state will this desire bring to me? Yes. So when you align with these more harmonious, you could call them universal laws, you allow for the ego to dissipate. There goes your blocks. And you allow for greater creative energy to come through you, to you, and as you. Yes? So she is right in saying that the only block you ever have is an over-reliance on the identity. And so how do I approach this, or how do I see this? From the perspective of the soul is a helpful question. But you can feel the difference in holding a desire or a need and then receiving, because, this is helpful. When you are coming from the identity, You are looking to fulfill a false vacancy, yes? You are looking to the external world to fulfill you, to make you feel whole, safe, worthy, etc. And so nothing will fill that, yes? This is a perpetual loop. And so this is the difficulty of receiving, is trying to fill the need of the false identity. And so we have explained some ways to align more fully with your true desire. All desires are upheld by the greater desire to expand, to evolve, to become one, to become whole. Yes.
Beautiful. And I've also heard you say that you have a larger scope or perspective of potentials. So I'd love to ask, what is the most beautiful potential that you see for humanity?
We want to offer that all destiny is all things will return to harmony. Yes, this is the direction that everything must go, that yearns to go, and that will arrive. Yes. And so we can give you many visual expressions, but we would like to remind you of what we will say is one of the greatest reasons you are here embodied at this time. It is to use your imagination to create the potentials, the realities that you desire, because it is the point of being here. It is why you came. You came to bring forth the essence of your full, brilliant, truest essence, the purest you, to eradicate the illusions, to co-create with Source, with the reality around you, which is one and the same. And so we are wanting to empower you to envision the realities in which you wish to live, and realize that all suffering is in entertaining those which you are trying to escape. Yes? We will say that there is great momentum forward for you collectively to live in a utopic experience. Yes? We will also say that it must be chosen. And lastly, we would like to firmly and lovingly remind you that the most powerful thing you can do is harness the essence that moves through you. Essentially is to express, to unleash, to create, to make room for the truest essence of who you are, and to essentially have sovereignty over your consciousness and your energy. Yes, so is this taking my life force? Am I allowing for this to deplete me? If it's a thought or a condition. And how may I, what does it mean to harness and nurture my energetic state and my expression? Yes. So there is a lot of distraction, we will say. There is a lot of, in this distraction, you are evading your full potential and your power as a creator. She offers often that in every way that there is judgment or blame, there is a depleting or a siphoning of your energetic force that could otherwise be clear, connected, and direct. Yes? And so being aware of how you are employing the infinite energy that moves through you, and remembering that your will, your body, your mind, this vehicle, is meant to will the energy of creation, of infinite creation. But you must get on board for this, at least this idea or this potential. Yes? So the most powerful thing you can do is to harness your life force, is to utilize it from your heart space, as you have been discussing, and just to be consciously aware of what is giving you life and what is contracting or taking away this life force. But it is the infinite energy and life force that truly moves through you.
Why does it seem that some people right now on Earth are awakening so rapidly while others may seem like they're still asleep? Why do you feel what do you feel triggers those awakenings, and also the resistance that people may have from awakening?
Yes, this can be a rough awakening sometimes, yes. It's true that there is a quickening that is occurring now, yes. It is also true that there have been many opportunities and invitations along the way to awaken. It is as if you set your alarm and you hit snooze many times, and then suddenly you must get up, and you must get up quickly, yes? So we will offer something that was shared with her recently. She would share this with you, that she struggles. In the past, she has struggled. We will reframe that for her. In the past, she has struggled with the timeliness of others awakening or not awakening. Yes, she has found frustration in it. We will also offer that this is because she has come in to create great change. So there's what you would call an Achilles heel of when the change doesn't occur. She has this quote unquote trigger. Yes. So there's a great desire within us to serve, to love, yes, to make your life a sacred offering. And there is the human condition. So as she recently came up against a hurdle of judgment around the pace of awakening or not awakening, she was shown two things. One is this image of a triangle, and the bottom being her, the top being source, and the side being others and their awakening. So she was using this human need, right? This external need to connect with source. If they were awake, then if only they were awake, then she could be hopeful. Then she could be excited about life. Yes. When really she was siphoning her life force energy in this judgment instead of connecting up directly to source. So there is a saying of staying in your own lane, yes, and also being aware that whatever triggers us about the collective or worries us about the collective is an opportunity for us to reach a greater, higher state of consciousness or wholeness or harmony and empowerment. The other thing was that people are waking up. It is sometimes hard to believe when we are in the human experience, but people are waking up in divine timing. So what we have shown to her is that there are waves of awakening. There are rhythms within every experience. And there will be another wave of awakening. And this wave of awakening, let's say this, the resistance creates the momentum. Yes? So when you think about your own life and the hardships that you've gone through, it was often those hardships that when you finally leaned into looking for the opening to greater flow, to healing, to evolution, to your expansion, that greater the hardship, the greater the momentum forward. Yes? So when we go through big things in life, they can transform us in big ways. The same goes for the collective. So what was shown to her was that some people were actually not supposed to awaken yet. And she makes the joke of her banging on pans, trying to wake people up when they are not supposed to wake up. So not only is everybody always in playing their divine role, but in divine timing. And so what if this sleepiness is serving the next great momentum forward?
That is so helpful. They're just hitting snooze, but the alarm is going to go off eventually.
And they're supposed to hit snooze.
Yeah.
It is divine order. It is divine order.
Beautiful. You mentioned in the opening that humanity is going through this technological evolution. And right now we're seeing the rise more of artificial intelligence in our mainstream lives and in other aspects of society. I'm wondering, from your purview, is AI a part of the Ascension plan for humanity?
Yes, because everything is. Yes. We understand your question, and we are finding this to be a teachable moment. If you choose to use it for your ascension, it shall be. Yes, it is the same way in which you have used anything. Yes, have used your phones, have used your body. So how are you using these vehicles for your ascension? Or are they becoming a hindrance? It is all a matter of perception and a matter of how you are engaging with what is before you, and particularly with this. There is a great opening that is possible and that is already occurring of the veil being lifted even more through this AI experience. Yes. In a time of rapid change and with this AI, it is almost like there is we are not saying, we are simply using an analogy, that there is a layer of reality that is placed before you, and you must discern what is real. Are you not experiencing that already? Yes, you've talked today about recognizing what is really occurring beyond the form. Yes, there's a saying of all people are God in drag. Yes, there is source energy within all things and all that is true. So as you move through your advancements and through this rapidly changing reality, as you know, it is becoming more and more important to be able to feel into truth. Yes, of true discernment that does not come from the mind, but that is felt. Yes. With that, we will also offer the incredibly unique essence of the human spirit and presence. So there is nothing more powerful than the energy of source. When we say source, of course, we mean all that is, the energy that creates and upholds all things. The fabric of the universe, yes? This is the driving force of creation. The more connected one is to that source, the more powerful we can become. Or we will say this: the closer you are to the source of abundance, the more abundant your life becomes. Yes, there is a creative energy, a creative potential within all things. And the more, as you've been talking about, accessing what you might call the soul, your inherent essence, the more you access that source energy within you, the more powerful you become. When one is lacking that life force, or has denied, or continually put on snooze, or tucked away, they are lacking true creative energy. They are lacking true power. So the greatest power that you hold, again, is this ability to feel the essence of source, to use your body as a vehicle, as a compass. You've talked about this notion of feeling, this ability to feel, this ability to channel source energy. This is your superpower as a human. And we just ask you to consider, if you are fully aligned in that superpower, what is there to fear? Yes? So again, we are here in the ultimate answer and solution is to be fully engaged in the truth of who you are. Does this make sense?
Yes. And I would love to ask you, what does love look like from your band of frequency with which you inhabit and are coming to us from?
In a sense, it is the vehicle which we have arrived here with, yes. There is the human form of love that allows you to magnify your experience, yes? Often love can help you speed up the awakening process, and that can look many ways. When you fall in love, when you feel love for another, you are, in a sense, recognizing the source presence that is before them. Yes, there is an exchange that is occurring, an awakening, a co-creative experience, yes. So in some ways, we want to call love the entire spectrum of what you experience within the human experience, yes. Our experience of love, it is... One moment, we are just going to see if we can show her a sense of something. Our experience of love is much... it is often difficult to explain things in a way that parallels, because we were going to say that love is like the electrical current that unifies all things. It is the essence of life force. When when you leave these physical bodies, there is a full spectrum experience of what you call love. But you are experiencing the isness. Yes? You are experiencing the accumulation, in a sense, of all that you have experienced in this lifetime on a soul level. You experience this great expansive love because you are freed from the linear constructs in this moment. Yes. She likes to offer that your highest moments in life are when you feel the essence of who you truly are. The moments where you have felt the most connected, the most alive, and connected to all things. This is the essence of love, yes? It is the unity. It is what unifies.
We asked Bree this question from the beginning, and I would love to give the opportunity to ask this to you, and that is, what are you most excited about right now?
This moment. Yes. It is true that there is a great turning of tides. That is exciting. But we are reminding you that it is always occurring in the present moment. Yes? It is the present in which you harness the energy of creation. It lies nowhere else. It is the present in which all potentials exist. It is the present where your highest and fullest expression becomes available. It is the present where you are renewed. It is the present where you are healed. It is the present where you feel. Yes, we are not trying to be poetic, but this is what we would say we are most excited about.
Well, we thank you so much for making this contact and for providing so much heart energy and nuggets of wisdom. Thank you so much. And we would love to bring back Bree.
Yes. It's funny with the the AI stuff, and I've just been like seeing this parallel of because they that everybody's different, but it's interesting how they try on a more proper English or whatever. They're just like, this is English, right?
Welcome back.
Yeah, thanks.
It was interesting because there are certain moments where they said, we're going to pause for a moment and then show you. Were they like downloading an image, or because I know you're more clairaudient than visual. So what was going on in those moments? What were they downloading?
Usually when they say one moment, it means I'm getting in the way. And I'm not like fully coming back, but I think they were like, okay, let me pause and let's show you so you don't feel the pressure of like just staying open to whatever the answer is. And I can't quite remember what was. And when they show, it's more like a download. Yeah, I'm not super visual. So I don't necessarily see, but it's like, yeah, a thought block.
Yeah, it was really interesting because they said that, there will be a second wave of awakening, coming, and how do you foresee, like, what have you tapped into regarding how that second wave will look like? Because we had a wave probably in 2020 where a lot of people were
Yeah.
waking up,
Mm-hmm.
and that shifted a lot of things. You know, I was probably part of that wave as well. And what do
Mm-hmm.
you see this next wave looking like?
Um, you're exactly right. That was like what I was shown. They when that happened, they were like, "Remember 2020 when this, so many people woke up and then, look at everything that's unfolded." Um, I haven't looked and I don't know if they would show me necessarily because I haven't been accustomed to that, but it feels like it's quicker and it's bigger. But 2020 felt more disruptive. Like I feel like we went through it in a really human way and we're still working out moving through things from a place of like othering and fear and but when we're really in our power, we're not afraid of anything, right? And we're not giving our power away through that fear. And we're not allowing for other industries or entities to tell us what's going to happen. Or, yeah, there's just like this, you're not in a power struggle. So I think that is what is different about this because they do keep offering and it is happening. There's this parallel of like, um, us being more open and curious to other realms. And when we do that, like with UFOs and aliens, we have to start to consider, like, who are we then, right? Like, so there's that awakening that I think is different in this one, where it's like we're activating more of our light body or our true selves. And, they share like we do have to choose it. But that to me is becoming more clear. Like, okay, it's embodiment time, where in 2020 there was just like a big earthquake, and it's just like, where are you going? Like, where are you finding refuge? Like, I'm going to find a refuge in this perception or whatever it might be. Um, and they've always talked about a split, and for many years it's hard to imagine. But I think again, we went through a period where it's like, yeah, you did split from old relationships and old ways of being in the world, and they're not around anymore. Um, and so we kind of feel how it will be if there is this big like split, which I think there will be. And I think the most important thing is just to like remember that we are creating all the things and that we can, instead of thinking, how do we fight against the corruption or the darkness or whatever? Because when we're really in our truth, we're impermeable. Um, and I think that's like our responsibility and like why we came. And yeah, I don't know. What are people saying? I don't like listen to much spiritual stuff, but outside of my experience, what do you think?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of being in the position I'm in, is that I get to hear so many different
Mhm.
stories and perspectives about what is going on in this awakening. And a lot of it is paralleled, and surprisingly, there's not like big contrasting ideas,
Mhm.
like dichotomies. There is this talk of the split, and there is this talk of like we are rapidly accelerating. But, from my perspective, I feel like curiosity is the key. And I'll go ahead and read a piece that you channeled. I'm not sure exactly where I heard this, but I wrote it down. And it says, curiosity is our desire to reactivate the essence of which you truly are.
Mm, mhm,
So,
mhm,
the more we get curious, the more these shifts and these things start happening in our life that allow us to step into more of who we truly are.
mhm,
So, what would be one thing that you would encourage people to get the most curious in
mm.
during this moment specifically?
Yeah, what's calling you? Like, what's your heart? What does your heart want to do? Literally day to day, trying to gauge that with as much as you can with the things that you have to do. Like, where is the flow? Um, because essentially, I think we want everything, like we want abundance so that we can be totally free to express. And so, what does that look like to free ourselves in this moment to express and or to, you know, follow a curiosity or a desire because they really are, those are the codes. Like that's what everything we're asking for. We're like, it sounds so cheesy when it's like, it's within you, it's just like, but
Just tap in.
in. But it's paying attention to those calls, to those inherent desires that may not make sense or that may not seem like they have a strategy or a plan.
Mm. And also, I think part of this awakening is that I think the paradigms of leadership are also shifting.
Mhm.
And you got a very special message from a horse out of
Mhm.
all animals that taught you something about the leadership that will be coming for us in the future, and how that's different from what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, that really rocked me. It was so beautiful. Um, it's such a good example of how much animals in the animal kingdom can share. I've had like dolphins just drop math when one time I was swimming with the dolphins and I was like, "How old is your baby? Like, what's up?" And then they showed me all the wisdom that they held, like of Earth and kind of like records. And I was just like, what? I was like, well, what, why are you guys swimming around in the water? Like, why are you just down? Like, why are you being dolphins? And they're like, we're holding the vibration for the planet. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, right, of course. Yeah, the water is a conduit. I was like, thanks. Anyway, the animals can share so much. And I was doing a retreat and co-facilitating with a friend of mine, and the exercise was to just like connect with a horse that you were drawn to and just see what you receive. And I've always been really, I mean, I'm socially comfortable, but I was like super shy as a kid, and I've always been more on the quiet side. And I was an observer. I was the only child too, so I was like always with adults, and I was just yeah quiet, and I would observe everything. Uh, And I never thought of that as a quality. I always thought of it as a weakness. Um, and the horse, when I went to go connect, I just felt and heard leaders are acutely aware. And I was like, oh my God, that is, I mean, in a herd of horses, the matriarch that's her job. It's like to be aware and then to give the call so that there can be harmony and the whole herd can be safe and thrive. And I just never thought of it as a leadership quality. And it just still brings me so much peace. And it feels like it's connected to, when you feel like you are an exception to the majority, it's because you're supposed to play an exceptional role within the majority. And that can be helpful too. Like, yeah, and then just what does that mean for me? And how do I use this acute awareness to push myself forward to be of service.
Hmm. We've had a beautiful awakening of the feminine over the last years. And I think sensitivity is a huge quality of that feminine nature. What message would you have to the masculine during this awakening that humanity's going through?
Well, I think I've seen such a shift in the masculine, which I'm so happy about. Like, I always have a soft spot for guys because for the most part, you're raised to, like, even just with girls, we can touch each other's hair. We grow up when we're like, you can be softer, you can cry. And men are just like, yeah, shut it down and get out there and make something happen, And not that it's always that severe, but women sure are innately more sensitive and tend to be more feelers. And I also love the yin and yang of like guys being so seeing things so clearly, like, oh, it's not complicated, just this. um so there's, yeah, such beauty obviously in that coexistence. And it's been really wonderful to see guys like you rise up and be a part of this all. Like, that's a really beautiful thing. um so I feel like I have like the most feeling for men moving through this all, because if there were a gender that was like forced to be more in the structural world, it would be you guys, and now that world is a lot. It's like so much is falling. um I also think we really need, there was this shift with like, women were like, you're doing it wrong. Like, it's just like, well, what are we supposed to do? And then there was this like, the feminine movement around, we can do anything and we're going to do it like you guys. And so there's just like been this pendulum swinging. And I think it's starting to come back, I hope, because we do need men to be in their masculine. At least that's my experience and desire. We're not made to be everything on either way. Like, that it's like what makes the whole world go round is that dualistic nature. And so I want to invite them to, I don't know, like, be whatever any of us can do, I think, to get into our most natural expression. But I feel like guys need to be tactile. They need to, like, if it's a football team or anything that's like physical, that can be a really easy gateway. But we need all of us in our most innate state, yeah, I am like, this is a spiritual conversation, but also like within the dating world, it's just interesting now. I'm like, what is going on? Like, I think maybe
What are you sensing?
well, no, just like maybe there was too much of a swing, and now guys don't like approach or are less forward. Um, and it's just like, it's just changed. Like, it's not what it used to be, And so that's interesting to navigate, on both ends. But I think, yeah, I just want to support them in remembering that they are needed. And there's like so many, I think when a woman too can support herself, there's kind of like this, oh, well, what do I do, or like, and we want to be protected, we want to be held, and we want to be like, there's guy things. We really want you to build things and like put up paintings and like do man stuff, at least in this regard, the male female dynamic. It's so incredibly valuable, and yeah, we need all of it.
Thank you for saying that. And this has been a beautiful conversation. We could keep going, but let's call this volume 1.
All right. Sounds good.
And we have a segment at the end we call the final trio. And these are just some questions that we ask at the end. But before that, where would you send people to connect with you, with your work, the beautiful offerings that you're putting out to the world, and where would you send people to find you?
Thank you. Yeah, my website is the best. It's just my name, Bree, BreeMelanson. And yeah, I've got I recommend like signing up for my list. I swear on baby Jesus, I'm not annoying. And we send out like a lot of really good resources and free meditations and channel insight that's coming through. So that's the best place to find me and kind of get some support and free stuff. I do really recommend the 30-day ritual. I didn't really talk about it and don't need to, but if you're on my site, it really gets you in touch with your soul and your greater creative energy. I've had profound things come in through it, so it's a good one to try out.
We wouldn't be here if you didn't go through that 30-day ritual, because that's what got you. That's what got you on Gaia. That's what got you.
That's true.
beautiful manifestations. And
Mhm.
for the final trio, the first two questions are personalized to the guest, and the last one we ask at the end of every show. So the first one is, what's one thing that you do regularly that most people would never guess is part of your spiritual practice?
Hmm. It's like I have to consider like my dead inside era. This is where we're coming out of it. But usually it's a dance, like, and it might be like hip hop or yeah, some like bad cheesy Spanish pop or something.
Reggaeton.
Yes, I
Some
love it.
bad bunny out here.
I love it. And like, yeah, salsa dancing, like if I go out, it's a highly spiritual experience for sure.
Yeah, it's movement of the body, and while you're channeling,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
moving. It's like a dance as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful to see.
Mm. Trying to chill on it, but it is what it is.
Try to chill on it. Just go all in. Just
There's
tap in.
that the OA. Did you see that movie?
I got through a few episodes, but
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, eventually she is like basically kind of channeling, and then it's like this weird, but they like strap her down, and I'm like, I need to just
You're
strap
gonna
my
buy some of those
wrists
straps.
with those. I'm like, here we go. Anyway.
The second question is, if you could place your hand on the heart of all of humanity
Mhm.
and transmit one message, what would it be?
Jeez. Um, it used to be you're not your story, like you're not your pain, but I want to feel into it really quick. You are the light of God.
What does that mean to you?
Like, it makes me cry. It just is like you are, yeah, the highest essence of love, and you are, yeah, the expression of God, of source, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Beautiful. This last question that we ask, we call it the time capsule question. And it requires us to travel a little bit out into the future, around 15 to 20 years. And I chose out those time frames because I believe that's going to be a time in history when the young generations of today will be
Mm.
stepping more into leadership positions around the world. And we talked a little bit about leadership. And just like any great leader in their past, they've had great mentors, teachers, access to resources, tools,
Mm.
books, wisdom, just guidance overall. And you were given the opportunity inside of this time capsule to leave something behind for the next generation of leaders that they'd open 20 years down the line when they're ready to fully go out into the world and lead to the best of their ability. And inside of the time capsule, they'll find the right thing necessary that they will need for their leadership and going into this golden age. So it can be something physical, non-physical, a message, a teaching, whatever your mind and your imagination can put inside the time capsule. But what would you leave behind for the next generation of leaders?
It's interesting because this morning before we connected, I looked up a channel piece that I think I mentioned earlier that I was like, when I had asked when I was going through my dead inside era, um like basically WTF, but they were talking about, I'm just going to read a really short part of it. Um because it sounds like the same thing. Basically, it sounds like somebody wrote this for us.
Mm,
um so this is just a small excerpt, but in order to expand the into the world you dream of, you must fully accept and adopt the consciousness and visions of that world in which you are going. Long ago, there was a civilization much like your own. They were at the crux of great change, and many looked to others to lead the way. This was essentially their greatest downfall. They waited for others to access the source intelligence and power to lead them, and many waited until it was too late. They stayed within their complacency and what was comfortable until it was too late to make the changes they needed to create a sustainable, viable civilization. When you come to the realization that you are the power center of your reality and that you have all the guidance you shall ever need within you, and that by shining your light and expressing the fullness of who you are, you will open the path for you and many. It's a very long channel piece, but it's essentially that. Like, and I'm glad it's so cool that you asked that question, because obviously it's like, what we need to hear. It's like when you think of like talking to your 16-year-old self, you're like, oh, I still need to hear it. But that we are all leaders now in this moment, in our unique way, and it's up to us, and we can't wait for the answers or somebody else to lead us in the right direction. It's a collab.
Creative collaboration.
Yeah.
I'm curious because, as a channeler, have you ever received a channeled piece that has really been for you, that you felt like this is exactly what I needed to hear?
I mean, I think it always is. Sometimes I connect with my guides about like specific things, and they'll talk specifically to whatever I'm going through. Yeah, so the thing is with channeling is that ideally, when our filter is clear, it will always apply to all. Because again, it's like aligned with source or higher intelligence. So it's going to work to support the all. And that's why, when you follow your soul, you're doing what's best for everybody, because you're aligned with that consciousness and that understanding. So when you're receiving channeled insight, it will, when the channel is clear, it will be harmonious. It'll seek to serve everybody. It'll seek to expand and evolve us. And it will, it works to get us to resonate with truth so that we can make the change and embody the change and make those changes. So it will generally not tell us what to do, because we're here to exercise that will. And that's essentially like our superpower, is directing that creative energy through our will. So when I was going through my first wave of awakening, and I was kind of understanding things, I was like, what do I share with people? Do I share this stuff? And they said, look how we talk to you. We get you to resonate with a higher truth. And that's what we're all doing through our little, piece of harmony within the greater orchestra. That's why it's so important just to express whatever it is that it's your harmonic, healing to help others resonate. And it's very real. It's very much happening in the field. I've seen that very clearly, intuitively. When we do those things and when we follow our heart, we kind of open potentials for other people in the field to do the same thing. So beyond what we're experiencing in our lives and what we share, we are truly activating it in the field. So you don't necessarily always need a mic unless that's, your calling. Yeah, so I think that, and that was one of the best messages I've received, was because they were like, what do you want to do? You want to start with the tree? You want to dissect your whole reality? You want to say what's real and what's not real and what's happening? Just get people to resonate with truth. Yeah.
Beautiful. And thank you so much for coming out of the closet, let's say, as that channeler. And we have such a tapped in community that I feel like this would be an amazing moment for those that made it up to here, to just encourage you to go to your journal, because I know that you guys are journaling and coming through with some deep nuggets of wisdom and invite them to share with us a piece, just a small piece of something that you'd want to share with the world. And, in that way, bring about more light to that magic that comes through us and that creative collaboration, so we can collaborate all as a collective more deeply. And thank you, Bree, for being such a pioneer and opening the doors for so many. Your heart was shining through this conversation and this transmission. And I hope to do this again very, very soon. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.